Remember the very first lesson of this course. The greedy trader who oversizes gets slaughtered. Here is the arithmetic behind that proverb. This is Chapter 1 of the Risk Management module. Start with the only unforgivable sin. The heading states the case. A 50% loss needs a 100% gain to undo it because drawdowns compound against you, which is why oversizing is the one mistake with no recovery. The rule sits under it. On the left is the recovery maths, showing what it takes to get back to even. Lose 10% and you need 11% back. Lose 25 and you need 33. Lose 50 and you need 100. The table continues, and the asymmetry gets worse fast. Lose 75% and you need 300% to recover. Lose 90 and you need 900. That is the asymmetry. Each extra percent lost demands more than a percent back. On the right is why size decides everything. Oversizing is the only mistake that cannot be undone by a better trade, because the arithmetic of recovery is brutal. Read the 3 states. Small losses recover almost linearly. Deep losses compound against you. And ruin is the state where no gain recovers it at all, which leads to the conclusion. Survival is not a defensive goal. It is the whole strategy. A line closes the figure. Every loss demands a bigger win to erase it. So the first job is never losing too much. That table is not a hypothetical. Here is the same math drawn on live price. The heading puts it plainly. The same chart ends 2 different accounts, because a 40% decline in 4 sessions is survivable or fatal depending entirely on position size. The rule sits under it. On the left is the daily chart and the drawdown running through it. The decline itself is marked, a 40% fall, with volume underneath and its 20-bar average for comparison. The panel fills in around it. And the note underneath is the cruel part. For sessions removed a year of gains, and the oversized account never got to trade the recovery. On the right is the read. The table turned into a real event. This was a world-leading company, not a failing one, and it fell 40% in 4 sessions. At 1% risk, that is an inconvenience. At 10%, it is the end of the account. The 3 outcomes make it concrete. At 1% risk, it is a scratch. At 5%, it is a bad month. At 10%, there is no account left. The chart is the same for everyone, and the size is what differs. A line closes the figure. Nobody controls the decline, and everybody controls how much of it they own. Notice why leverage is so lethal here. It does not merely make losses bigger. It pushes you into the region of the curve where the required recovery becomes mathematically hopeless. A trader down 40% is bruised. A trader down 80% needs a 400% gain to break even, which almost never happens. So how do you set the size? This is the formula that answers it. The heading gives the order of operations. Risk first, then size follows arithmetic, because 1 to 2% of equity per trade, divided by the stop distance, gives the position. The rule sits under it. On the left is the sizing formula, worked once, and it is the only formula you must know. Size equals account times risk percent, divided by stop distance. Risk is chosen first, and size is the arithmetic that follows. The inputs are listed, a $25,000 account, at 1% risk. The rest of the table completes it. That 1% is $250. The stop distance is $2.50. So the position is 100 shares. On the right is how to apply it. A fixed fraction every time. Risk a fixed small fraction, 1 to 2% of equity, on every trade, regardless of how good the setup feels. 3 notes qualify that. The same fraction goes on every trade. It gets recomputed as equity changes. And going bigger on conviction is the trap, which gives the governing rule. A wider stop means a smaller position, never a bigger risk. A line closes the figure. Choose the risk before the trade, and the position size is then not a decision at all. The stop distance comes from chart structure. Below the wave too low, under support, beyond the mother candle. Then the formula converts it into shares, contracts, or coins. Structure decides the stop decides the size, and never the reverse. That is the verdict worth carrying. Here it is as a verdict. The heading names it, size from the stop, the verdict to carry out of this chapter. The rule sits under it. On the left, the verdict itself. It reads, risk a fixed 1 to 2% of your account per trade, and size positions from the stop distance. And the formula restates it. Size equals account times risk percent, divided by stop distance. Risk chosen first, and size is what follows. On the right is why it holds. The fixed fraction is 1 to 2% of equity, and the stop distance is what sets the share count, while round numbers are the thing to avoid, because a round number is not a sizing method. A wider stop buys a smaller position, never a larger risk. A line closes the figure. One fraction, every trade, and the stop does the rest of the arithmetic. There is a simple habit that enforces all of this. Before every entry, type the exact share or contract count the formula gives you, never a round, comfortable number. The formula's output is usually awkward, 37 shares, or 1.4 contracts rounded down to 1. That awkwardness is the discipline working. A tidy round size is a sign the position was sized from wishes rather than from the stop. Now for the part nobody plans for. Losing streaks are not bad luck. They are certainty. The heading says so. Long losing runs are certainty rather than bad luck, because a real edge still delivers 6 and 8 trade losing streaks over a few hundred trades. The rule sits under it. On the left is the streak probability at a 55% edge, and even that edge still loses 6 in a row. The bars step down as the run lengthens. About 9%, then 4, then 1.8, then 0.8, then 0.2%, against 3 losses, 4 losses, and 5 losses. The rest of the scale continues to 6 losses and 8 losses, and that is the chance of the streak in any given run of trades. Over 100 trades, and far more over 500, the conclusion follows. A long streak is not merely likely. It is a certainty, so the size has to survive it. On the right is what to do about it, because streaks are structural. Even a genuine 55% edge produces long losing runs, and over hundreds of trades, 6 or 8 in a row is inevitable. 3 responses follow. Expect them and plan the drawdown. A fixed fraction shrinks the risk automatically as equity falls, and doubling up is what converts a streak into ruin, which reframes the whole thing. The streak is not evidence your method broke. It is evidence that it is a method. A line closes the figure. The streak is coming whatever your edge, so the size has to make it survivable rather than fatal. At 1%, 8 straight losses cost about 8%, a bad month you trade out of. At 10%, the same streak removes more than half the account and effectively ends the game. You are not sizing for the trade in front of you. You are sizing for the worst streak the year will hand you. Sizing is only half of the edge, though. This is the other half. The heading corrects a common belief. Accuracy is not edge. Expectancy is, because a 35% hit rate with 4-to-1 winners beats a 70% hit rate with half-unit ones. The rule sits under it. On the left is expectancy by method, measured per trade in units of risk. Expectancy equals win rate times average win, minus loss rate times average loss. The first method is chasing, a 70% win rate, but a payoff of only half a unit, giving an expectancy of minus 0.05. The table continues. A coin flip at 50% with a 1-unit payoff is exactly 0. A structured method at 45% with 2.5 units gives plus 0.58. And trend following at 35% with 4 units gives plus 0.75. The summary underneath is the lesson. Accuracy feels like the edge. The size of wins actually is the edge. And both together decide expectancy. On the right is where to improve. Your long-run result is expectancy, not accuracy. So a 35% hit rate with 4-unit winners beats a 70% rate with half-unit ones. 3 notes follow. Positive expectancy is the only requirement. Bigger winners are usually the easier thing to improve. And chasing accuracy is the amateur's goal, which gives the sharpest line in the chapter. Being right often and being profitable are unrelated problems. A line closes the figure. Win rate is what feels good, and expectancy is what pays. This is why every setup in the price action module demanded a reward of at least twice the risk before entry. At 2-to-1, you can be wrong 60% of the time and still compound. Accepting poor reward to risk because the signal looks strong is how high win rates go broke. Above the single trade, there is one more layer. Per trade sizing is necessary, but not sufficient. The heading makes the point. 5 good trades can still be 1 bad bet. So the caps go on total open risk, correlated exposure, the daily loss, and the monthly drawdown. The rule sits under it. On the left are the portfolio caps, for limits sitting above the single trade. The first caps total open risk, at no more than 5% of equity at risk at once. The second caps correlated risk, because 3 technology longs are 1 position, not 3. The remaining 2 continue. The third caps the day, stopping trading after a fixed daily loss. The fourth caps the month, having size after a 10% monthly drawdown. Portfolio rules are what stop a bad day from becoming a bad year. And the banner underneath says why they exist at all. On the right is the reason per trade sizing is not enough. risk adds up. 5 well-sized trades in the same sector are 1 oversized trade, and portfolio limits catch what per trade sizing cannot. The 4 caps are restated as chips. 5% maximum open risk. Correlated positions counted as 1. 2 losses, and the day is done. And size halved at a 10% monthly drawdown, with all of it written down before you need it. A line closes the figure. Per trade sizing protects you from 1 trade, and portfolio caps protect you from yourself. Leverage obeys the same arithmetic. Futures and options follow the same 1% rule on the stop, because leverage changes the capital required, never the risk permitted. And the weekly circuit breaker matters for a reason beyond the money. Losing streaks degrade judgment exactly when you need it most. Which brings the chapter back to where it started. Here is the closing verdict. The heading states it. Losses compound against you. And that is the verdict to carry out of this chapter. The rule sits under it. On the left, the verdict itself. It reads, losses compound asymmetrically, so a 50% drawdown needs a 100% gain to recover. And the scale underneath shows the pairs. 300%, 100%, 33%, and 11% needed, against losses of 10, 25, 50, and 75%. On the right is why it holds. A shallow loss recovers almost linearly. A deep one needs a different account entirely, and therefore the conclusion follows. Cap the loss, not the win. The maths of recovery is why survival comes before performance. A line closes the figure. Recovery is not symmetrical with loss, which is why size is the first decision. At 1% risk, 10 consecutive losses cost about 10% of equity. Annoying, recoverable, survivable. At 10% risk, the same streak is ruin. Same strategy, same signals, and only the sizing differs. That is the whole chapter in one sentence. The single purpose of risk management is to make a lethal drawdown impossible so that your edge has time to work. You just finished chapter 1 of the risk management module. Losses compound asymmetrically, so a 50% drawdown needs a 100% gain. The position is the account times the risk percent divided by the stop distance. Long losing streaks are certainty rather than luck. Expectancy beats accuracy, and portfolio caps catch what per trade sizing cannot. This is education rather than financial advice. Thank you for watching Trendly Lab. Next up, stop loss strategies, covering placement, trailing, and the common mistakes.